As many of you know, I don't use Twitter much. I don't use it because I don't believe any meaningful conversation can take place there. I don't use it because I don't think it's worthwhile injecting myself into highly charged and equally highly divisive subjects like politics, where you have some very left people and some very right people arguing all the time, and you have those filthy centrists in the middle, sometimes being, filthy and centrist alike. I've heard a rumour if you say filthy centrist into a mirror 3 times, Irate Bear comes out and grabs your genitals and offers you wood.
Oh, goddams.
Now the reason for this, my not wanting to inject myself into politics, or into Twitter in general, is, like I said, because nothing meaningful happens. It can sometimes in DMs where I, for example, have been having meaningful conversation with ranting feminist. I'm actually okay with her now. Yay. But the most recent spurging outs that I noticed irritate me, and they irritate me enough to be able to talk about it. Not to the extent where I'm going to, quote, fantasize about punishments or get overly emotional, because if I've gotten emotional in the past, wow. Just wow. In this case, though, I want to focus on the goings-on with St. Jude's and Ethan Ralph. As many of you know, Ethan Ralph did a kill stream called a heal stream, where he raised money for St. Jude's, a charity for children with cancer. During the stream, they managed to raise $26,000. Congratulations to anyone involved. Now, as many of you know, with Super Chats, some people leave whatever they want as a comment. Of course, YouTube have their own terms of service, and if they want to start policing donations, by all means do that. But the fallout from the 1488 Super Chats and other, quotes, racist Super Chats, I never saw any of them. I didn't watch the stream. I don't look at Twitter much. So I've not seen anything to indicate how racist it was, just the outrage that it was racist. It's led to some places like the Wall Street Journal to reach out to St. Jude's, to tell them Nazis, essentially Nazis, were donating to them. And of course, who would want to have Nazis donating to them? That's bad optics. So St. Jude's had to refund it after the fact, which caused quite a lot of outrage. I was on a Ghost Poo podcast on Friday and filled in on the majority of this, and my view on this was quite simple. Politics has no place in charity. It shouldn't. It really shouldn't. If you want to help someone, it doesn't matter what you think or believe. Proof of that comes, I guess, from a bunch of Muslims who raised a load of money for the synagogue victims. There are people who are willing to help regardless of belief. They set aside their beliefs, in fact, and do things for the greater good, because the greater good is more important than your quite frankly trivial disagreements. And I know it sounds a tad arrogant to say trivial, but when religious people are able to put things aside to work together, it says a lot more about how petty those involved in politics are than those involved in religion, and considering the damage religion has done over the many years, it is quite embarrassing. And in before someone inevitably says to me, politics has done more damage. Not the point. Back on track. The fact is, I consider a political argument on Twitter to be trivial because it is. You are character limited, and yet people seem to do this thing all the time where they just argue, sometimes over semantics, some so childish enough that they're only looking for a cheap point-scoring win or a gotcha moment. They're not looking at the bigger picture and looking to resolve an issue, but to simply be, in their mind, correct. Which is why people like David Sharat will never amount to much, because they are children acting in their minds like grown-ups, when they've yet to fathom what it means to be a man. Although it could be that David is in fact transitioning, so my apologies for that. The fact is, $26,000 was raised for charity. In my mind, it doesn't matter where it came from. So when I see people write these kind of retarded tweets like memes, I have to think to myself, wow, somebody's read so far into it that they've managed to come up with some bullshit excuse to basically play guilt by association, to rationalize having the donations refunded. Guilt by association as a fallacy is pretty sad, and for people who are typically pigeonholed as skeptics, quite pathetic. Then again, those who are doing the guilt by association are those that have normally said they are not part of any skeptic community. And they have a point. I don't recall seeing them at any club meetings, because they're too busy being edgy, drumming up drama, and acting like retards on Twitter. Another point I wanted to make, and one I certainly made on Twitter before getting reported a few times in fact, I expect a suspension in the future. Not that it matters, it's Twitter. I really don't give a shit about Twitter. Is that the way this came across was it sets up the idea for charitable purity tests, in that you can donate to charity, but if you have committed wrongthink, your donation could be rejected, on the premise that your views don't align with their views, and those views, regardless of whether they want your money or not, should be held above yours, because they're better than you, and because your money is somehow tainted because of politics, which, if anything, should be further proof that politics has no part in charity. There is one other subject where it really shouldn't be, and that's science, but as it's already infected there, it seemed also inevitable that it would infect charity. Now, the Wall Street Journal article is pretty tame, and I have archived it and linked it below for anyone to read. Ethan Ralph lost both his YouTube channels. I don't know if that was because of that stream or because of some other reason. He has set up a stream.me, I believe. I have linked it in the description as well. If you are at all interested in watching the kill stream proceed, it's there for you to look at. I've also linked a number of Twitter threads, and I want to mention this now to you. Let's see, Jeff Holiday. I know you've been deleting tweets, because you also did guilt by association, considering it was Dr. Phil that saved your channel, and you can't deny it. The appearance on that show saved your channel. It's probably not wise for you to inject yourself in what some would argue to be the wrong side again, or argue for the wrong reasons again. And no one cares about Wosley anymore, let's face it. For a guy who built a channel on drama, it's quite surprising the moment he got himself dragged into drama, he turned tail and quit making content, to the point where there's no videos on his channel anymore, I think. Maybe one or two. Not that it matters. When he's busy spurging out, all I can do is sit back and think, I'm so glad you and I are not associated. In fact, that's a point I also want to make now as well. This kind of mentality has me question your integrity, because to me it is pathetic. The Wall Street Journal did something which is nothing more than a glorified power play that they did in 2017. Was it 2017? Yeah. With do you remember the Adpocalypse? I'm almost certain the majority of you remember this. And by them playing YouTube and St. Jude's again, okay, St. Jude's once, but YouTube again, there's no win here. There's no throne. There's no victory. It is a simple case that if the Wall Street Journal don't like what you think, they'll bully YouTube into deleting you for wrongthink, as if demonetization wasn't bad enough. Now I am trying my hardest to stay calm and on point, but giving the Wall Street Journal power, people using guilt by association fallacies, which is ironic I guess since David Sherratt's involved, and he was once told by Karen Strawn, didn't you know? He was once told that he was one of the best at spotting a fallacy, and yet he seems oh so keen to use them now while he fights the crypto-fascists. Although I will give you credit for your first attempt at a cosplay as the Winter Soldier, you are still a colossal retard. Getting smug because someone lost their channel? Please. You're pathetic. You all are, in fact. It's quite sad, the purity testing of donations. I hope those that got refunded did take the advice I did notice was put in, of simply donating themselves, and also, of course, Mems did, regardless of the rather lowbrow commentary either side of those donation comments. The kind of comments you guys have made, and your behaviour on Twitter, is reminiscent of 2015-2016 social justice warriors. It is of the highest level of cringe. It is pathetic. This is why, as I stated earlier, politics has no place in charity. A lot of this has been covered by Cognitive Thought, obviously the Ghost Poo as well, and I'm going to link Cog streams because he packs a lot more information into it, and there are a lot of donations. The Ghost Poo also on Friday managed to raise $1,000 to send to St. Jude's. Now of course, if any of you people that I've called retards in this video have issue with that, by all means go tell the Wall Street Journal. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to write an article on the Ghost Poo, which is just laughable. Since YouTube do fuck all to help Sinatra with his stream channel issues and constantly getting flagged, I doubt they'll even notice him. Maybe just irate bear. I don't like how people use the past to attack Ralph for what he has said about others, and then use guilt by association to justify his being removed off YouTube, and his charity stream being treated as if it was solely raised to give him more attention, as if he in any way wins here, although he could be argued to be a winner if he's able to secure a platform and retain any viewership. If BitChute are able to set up live streaming soon, perhaps then. I've seen many excuses given. Quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, none of them are sufficient. And the pointless arguing takes away from the original point. The one that I see, not through a political lens, consider it apolitical. $26,000 was raised for charity, and because it was taken away because of the Wall Street Journal reeing like autistic spastics, that money has been refunded to people who are questioning what the hell happened and why their money got refunded. Others have raised money for it. Congratulations to all of those that have done so. Oh, and before I forget, let's not forget the hashtag Wall Street Journal kills kids, which did in fact get trending for a while, understandably so, since according to some people it cost $7,000 to treat a child with cancer, $26,000 almost treats 4 kids. Whether that's a valid point or not, for a company that makes as much money as it does through donations, who knows. Anyway, I do apologise this was more of a ramble and me just venting. I did have a topic for today, but I will save it for tomorrow, so I hope you all have a lovely Sunday, and thank you all for listening. Okay, so we're not done entirely, because I could be absolutely wrong. St. Jude could have started processing the refund before the Wall Street Journal even attempted to contact them. Reporting indicates this is the case, because they of course want to protect the $5 million they get a year, and that's understandable in the context of $26,000. But I believe my point about purity testing the credibility of those that choose to donate to a charity, and then playing guilt by association with those involved, and then of course, if the charity accepted the money, guilt by association with them. The very concept of guilt by association as a fallacy is a mockery of any common decency. I know that Sophane corrected me on a few elements of this on Twitter, and of course I am still down for a drink when I come to the States next year. My view is, politics has no place in charity. The moment you start doing that, it's no longer a charity. I just wanted to get this out there because my view could be argued to be more of a filthy centrist argument of, it's money for charity. That is pretty much it. I don't care which side of a spectrum or political alignment you fall under. Charity is charity. Politics has no place in it. The bigger picture I understand. I really do. But I don't care for it.